The 1920s in America were an age of dazzling contradiction, marked by unprecedented prosperity alongside deep hardship. It was a time of cultural liberation, jazz, and nativism, all leading toward an inevitable collision. The 1920 election brought Republican Warren G. Harding to power, promising a, quote, return to normalcy after World War I. Key policies focused on cutting corporate and personal taxes and reducing antitrust enforcement to fuel big business growth. The assembly line, perfected by Henry Ford, created a new American prosperity through increased productivity, standardized parts, and specialized labor. This led to a huge reduction in costs, as seen with the Model T, and a rise in average income for middle and working class Americans. The rise of the automobile and increased leisure time spurred consumerism. Advertising, credit, and access to electricity created new markets. By 1927, over 50% of American families owned a car, leading to the growth of suburbs and new businesses like gas stations and motels. Despite the boom, not everyone prospered. Personal debt skyrocketed as new products were bought on credit. Industries like coal mining, textiles, and railroads struggled, and labor rights were diminished, with 12-hour days still common. The American farmer's prosperity ended after World War I. Wartime demand and guaranteed prices led to a boom, followed by a post-war bust. Farmers became weighed down by debt, forcing many to sell their farms and migrate to cities for work. The 1920s marked a new era of social liberation. The 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. The flapper, with her short hair and dresses, symbolized the era's changing gender roles. While some women gained political office, most working women were still limited to low-paying jobs. The Jazz Age forged a national culture via radio and the silver screen. Radio stations like KDKA and phonographs created a national music industry centered on artists like Louis Armstrong. Movies, called Nickelodeons, and sports figures like Babe Ruth also soared in popularity. Prohibition, enacted by the 18th Amendment, was dubbed the Noble Experiment. Demand for alcohol didn't diminish, leading to the rise of speakeasies and massive bootlegging operations. Organized crime, led by figures like Al Capone, expanded into gambling and narcotics before Prohibition was repealed in 1933. Tradition clashed with modernity in the 1920s. The Scopes monkey trial highlighted deep cultural divisions over teaching evolution. Meanwhile, the lost generation of writers, including Fitzgerald and Hemingway, voiced disillusionment with materialism and mass society. A nation of fear arose with the Red Scare, nativism, and the KKK. Fear of communism led to the Palmer raids and deportations. The conviction and execution of Italian anarchists Sacco and Vanzetti were highly controversial, while the KKK expanded its reach nationwide, targeting many groups. Amid intolerance, the Harlem Renaissance became a cultural mecca. Thousands of African Americans moved north, concentrating talent in Harlem. This era saw the rise of artists like Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston, while the broader fight for equality continued, exemplified by Marcus Garvey's movement. Harding's presidency, 1921 to 1923, was marred by the Teapot Dome scandal and other corruption involving his Ohio gang. Vice President Calvin "Silent Cal" Coolidge took over after Harding's death, overseeing a period of booming business and prosperity. The prosperity of the 1920s rested on unstable foundations. Systemic risks included uneven distribution of income, over-reliance on credit, overproduction of goods, speculation fever in the stock market, and lack of government regulation. Black Tuesday, October 29, 1929, was the day the Roaring Twenties came to a crashing halt. The stock market plummeted, caused not by a single event, but by the culmination of all the weaknesses that had built up: overproduction, speculation, and lack of regulation. The crash triggered the Great Depression. Immediate effects included bank failures, mass unemployment, demand vanishing, and a credit collapse. By 1933, 25% of the workforce was unemployed, marking a decade-long economic crisis. How does the economic boom of the 1920s and the crash that followed compare to modern economic cycles, stock market speculation, and financial crises today? In what ways do the cultural clashes of the 1920s, such as changing gender roles and generational conflict, mirror debates over social values in modern society? What lessons can modern society learn from Prohibition about government regulation, unintended consequences, and public resistance to laws. How do the immigration restrictions and rise of nativism in the 1920s compare to modern debates over immigration and national identity? How did new technologies like radio and film in the 1920s shape public opinion and culture? And how is that similar to the influence of social media today?